Okay, dear students, last time we were discussing something about cancer. We discussed what is cancer, how it is caused. We have not discussed that. So today we will discuss causes of cancer, how the cancers are caused. You know, the process of conversion of a normal cell into a cancer cell. What is that known as? That is known as carcinogenesis, right? So first we will discuss what is carcinogenesis. Carcinogenesis. Cancer cells, they are developed from normal cells. So the process of conversion of a normal cell into a cancer cell is known as carcinogens. Known as carcinogenesis. The substance, the substance which induces conversion of a normal cell into cancer cell is known as a carcinogen. So the process by which a normal cell is converted into a cancer cell, that process is known as carcinogenesis. This carcinogenesis, it is brought about by some substances, and those substances which convert a normal cell into a cancer cell, those substances are known as carcinogens. So there are different types of carcinogens. These carcinogens which cause cancers, which change normal cells into cancer cells, there are different types. There are different types of carcinogens. We will have a look at the different types of carcinogens. Carcinogens are of different types. Radiations, ionizing radiations, ionizing radiations. They also prove to be carcinogenic. High temperatures, high temperatures. They also prove to be carcinogenic. Similarly, there are some chemical compounds, some chemicals which are prone to be carcinogenic. And similarly, there may be some viruses known as oncogenic viruses. Study of cancers is known as oncology. Study of cancers is known as oncology. Oncology is study of cancers. Study of cancer, that is known as oncology. So oncogenic viruses are those viruses which cause cancers, right? So these things, they are the main causes of cancers. They are the main causes of cancer. So skin cancers, they are mostly caused due to UV radiation, ultraviolet radiation, right? Similarly, some ionizing radiations, they may also cause cancers. Alpha rays, gamma rays, they may also cause cancers. Similarly, high temperatures, these high temperatures may also cause cancers. There are various chemicals which have been proved to be carcinogenic. They may also cause cancers. Similarly, there are a series of viruses, a group of viruses which are also cancer causing, right? So these substances, they serve as carcinogens. So ultraviolet radiation or different types of radiations, they have been proved to be carcinogenic. High temperatures, they may also act as carcinogens. Chemicals, there are various types of chemicals which have proved to be carcinogenic. For example, there are benzopyrene, benzopyrenes, benzopyrenes, or there are nitros, nitrosamines. So these chemicals, benzopyrenes, nitrosamines, they are considered to be carcinogenic. This benzopyrene, it is mostly present in smoke. Nitrosamines, they may be also present in cigarette smoke, right? So they are considered to be carcinogenic. Similarly, there are some food coloring agents. Food coloring agents. They may also prove to be carcinogenic. Similarly, there are some food preservatives. Food preservative. They may also prove to be carcinogenic. So there are various types of chemical compounds which we use in our daily life. We mostly nowadays take processed food or preserved food. That processed or preserved food that have some preservative in it, and some preservatives have been found to be carcinogenic. So we should not appreciate this canned food or processed food. We should resort to taking fresh foods. We should avoid these processed foods. Similarly, there are food coloring agents. In the preparation of foods, we add some coloring agents. And some of those coloring agents, those food coloring agents, they are also found to be carcinogenic. Similarly, people mostly smoke cigarette, they smoke this uh, hookah, hubble bubble. So this cigarette smoke or tobacco smoke, it also contains a chemical compound that is known as benzopyrene. So these benzopyrenes or nitrosamines, they are also considered to be carcinogenic, right? So these chemical substances, they may prove to be carcinogenic. Similarly, there are some viruses which induce cancers. Those cancer-causing viruses, they are known as oncogenic viruses. Some of the oncogenic viruses, they are, there is a virus known as sarcoma virus. Sarcoma virus. Or similarly, there is another virus that is known as Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus. Or similarly, there is human papilloma virus. Human papilloma virus. Or similarly, there is hepatitis B virus. Hepatitis B virus. It causes liver cancers, right? So there are different viruses which are also involved in causing cancers. So all these viruses, they are known as oncogenic viruses or cancer-causing viruses. There are various chemicals which are present in our foods, which are present in our environment. For example, asbestos. Those persons who are working in asbestos factories, they are mostly prone to lung cancers. Those persons who are constantly exposed to smoke, they are also prone to lung cancers. Those persons who are exposed to harmful radiations of the sun, they develop skin cancers, right? Those persons who are working in high temperatures, this high temperature can disrupt our genetic material, and these high temperatures can cause also cancers, right? So these are mostly the causes of cancer: ionizing radiations, high temperatures, chemical compounds, and oncogenic viruses which cause cancers, right? So how these things cause cancers, how they affect our body cells to become a cancer cell. So we'll see the underlying mechanism. Some of these substances, they act epigenetically. Some of these substances may act epigenetically, and some of them may directly act on our genetic material. Some of these substances, they do not disrupt our genetic material. They just change the metabolism of the cell. They just change the behavior of the cell. So those changes are known as epigenetic change. And some of these carcinogens, they directly act on the genetic material, DNA. So they induce the cancers by disrupting the DNA. So how cancers are caused? Mechanism. So carcinogens are the chemicals which cause cancer, or the substances which cause cancer. They may act epigenetically, or they may directly act on genetic material. So epigenetic changes are those changes which do not affect the genetic material, DNA, but these changes, they affect the behavior of the cell without changing DNA. So epigenetic changes, they occur in behavior of the cell, in the metabolism of the cell. Metabolism of cell without affecting DNA. Without affecting DNA. So certain carcinogens, they do not disrupt, they do not affect the DNA. They simply change the metabolism of cell, making the cell to escape all the controls and regulations and turning the cell into a cancer cell. Some carcinogens, they disrupt the DNA. They cause changes in the DNA and they induce cancers. Right? In our genetic material, in our DNA, we have got three types of genes. We have got three types of genes, which are mostly affected in the process of cancer. We have got a type of gene known as protooncogenes. Protooncogenes. These protooncogenes, they are present in all the human beings. They are present in all animals. Similarly, we have another set of genes. They are known as tumor suppressor genes. Tumor suppressor genes. And we have another gene that is known as angiogens. These are the three class of genes which are mostly targeted by these carcinogens, and any change in these genes may induce a cancer, right? So what is the function of protooncogenes? They are the normal genes which are present in everyone's body, right? In everyone's cells. These protooncogenes, they code for proteins that stimulate cell division and growth wherever necessary. Wherever necessary. So protooncogenes are the genes which code for proteins, which produce some proteins. And those proteins are necessary for cell division and growth in the areas wherever the cell division and growth is required, right? So protooncogenes, they stimulate our body cells for cell division and growth. Then we have another type of genes known as tumor suppressor genes. They code for proteins. They code for proteins. So they produce proteins which regulate cell division and growth. Cell division and growth. So they initiate cell division and growth. They inhibit cell division and growth. So they are working tandemly with each other. Protooncogenes, they stimulate cell division and growth. Tumor suppressor genes, they inhibit cell division and growth, right? So they work in a delicate manner so that growth and cell division occurs only in those areas where it is required. And excessive growth and division of the cells is prevented by their joint effort, right? Angiogenesis gene is a gene which is responsible for formation of blood vessels. Formation of blood vessels. So angiogenesis gene, it forms blood vessels, right? Then how carcinogens act on these genes? So a carcinogen may convert a proto-oncogene into an oncogene. By the action of carcinogen, a proto-oncogene may be converted into an oncogene. Oncogene is a cancer-causing gene. So when a proto-oncogene is converted into oncogene, then it causes cancer. So how a proto-oncogene is converted into an oncogene? A proto-oncogene may be converted into an oncogene in the following two methods. Proto-oncogene may be converted into oncogene either by gene amplification or by point mutation. So a proto-oncogene may be converted into an oncogene by gene amplification. In every cell, there is a fixed number of proto-oncogenes. Suppose this is a cell. In its DNA, there are 10 proto-oncogenes. These 10 proto-oncogenes, they produce sufficient enough protein, which is required for this division and growth and division of the cell. Now, if the number of proto-oncogenes in a cell increases, now if the number from 10 goes to 100, so they will produce excessive protein. And that excessive protein will stimulate this cell for uncontrolled growth and division. So this causes the cancer. So the function of proto-oncogenes is to produce a protein which normally stimulates a cell for growth and division. But if this protein is produced in very large quantity, if the protein is produced in excess, then it stimulates the cell for uncontrolled growth and division. So this occurs by gene amplification. So in every cell, there is a fixed number of proto-oncogenes. Suppose in this cell, there is a fixed number of 10 proto-oncogenes. If now, during the process of replication of the genetic material, the number of these proto-oncogenes is enhanced from 10 to 100. So now in this cell, there are 100 proto-oncogenes. These 100 proto-oncogenes, they produce excessive amount of protein. And this excessive amount of protein will stimulate this cell for excessive growth and division. And the cell escapes all the regulations of growth and division. And the cell becomes cancer, right? So gene amplification, increase in the number of copies of proto-oncogene in a cell, genetic material. This is one cause of cancer, right? So by gene amplification, a proto-oncogene may be converted into an oncogene. By gene amplification, a proto-oncogene may be converted into an oncogene. Similarly, there are point mutations. Point mutations are the changes in the nucleotide in the base pairs of a gene. Every gene is characterized by a specific sequence of base pairs and a specific number of base pairs. Suppose this is a gene, it has got a specific sequence of base pairs. Adenine, thymine, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, guanine, cytosine, guanine, cytosine, cytosine, guanine, cytosine, guanine, guanine, cytosine, right? Adenine, thymine. Suppose this is a gene. It has got a specific sequence of base pairs. AAC, GGC, CGA, right? And it has got a specific number of base pairs. It has got 9 base pairs in a specific sequence AAC, GGC, CGA, right? If there is any change in the number of base pairs or in the sequence of base pairs of this gene, that is known as point mutation. That is known as point mutation. Suppose here we had G and C, right? If they are replaced by C and G, if G and C is replaced by, if the sequence is replaced by, suppose here it was G, now if it comes here C and G, this is also a point mutation. If the base is replaced by another base, suppose here we had G and C, if it is replaced by T and A, it is a point mutation. So any change in the number of base pairs or in the sequence of base pairs of a gene is known as point mutation. Now, if a gene suffers point mutation, if a proto-oncogene suffers point mutation, it will produce a protein which will either not function normally or which will function, which will not control the division and growth of cells, right? So it will produce a defective protein. It will produce a defective protein. And this defective protein, it may overstimulate the cell for excessive growth and division. So this may also cause a cancer. So in this way, a proto-oncogene may be converted into oncogene, right? So cancers are caused by gene mutations, right? So how does a proto-oncogene mutate into an oncogene? A proto-oncogene may mutate into an oncogene by gene amplification. Every cell has got a limited number of proto-oncogenes. They produce a protein which stimulates the cell for growth and division, right? If the number of these proto-oncogenes in a cell increases abnormally, then cell may produce excessive amount of that protein, and that will stimulate the cell excessively, and the cell may escape all the controls regulating its division and growth, and the cell may become cancerous. Point mutation, if there is any change in the structure of this proto-oncogene, this may produce a defective protein, and this defective protein may overstimulate the cell for growth and division. So in this way, point mutation may convert a proto-oncogene into an oncogene, right? Similarly, tumor suppressor genes, they produce proteins which balance the effect of these proto-oncogenes. Proto-oncogenes, they produce protein which stimulate the cell for growth and division. Tumor suppressor genes produce proteins which inhibit these proteins or proto-oncogenes to limit the growth and division of the cell, right? So they work in tandem. It stimulates proto-oncogene protein, stimulates, and it inhibits. So it keeps the cell division in control. It keeps the cell division in control. Now, if this tumor suppressor gene suffers a mutation, if a tumor suppressor gene suffers a point mutation, the protein which will be produced by this mutated tumor suppressor gene cannot inhibit this protein or proto-oncogene. So when the delicate balance between stimulation and inhibition is disturbed, the cell may become overstimulated and the cell may cause cancer, right? So proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes, they work in tandem. Proto-oncogenes stimulate cell division and growth. Tumor suppressor genes, they inhibit cell division and growth. So they keep the cells under control. Now, if this tumor suppressor gene is mutated, its protein is not able to control the activity of protein or proto-oncogene, right? So cell division and growth cannot be suppressed. So cells may go out of control and they may divide continuously and they may show continuous growth causing cancers, right? So mutation of tumor suppressor gene may also cause cancer. Then there is another gene, that is angiogenesis gene. This angiogenesis gene, it is involved in formation of blood vessels in normal body organs. But when this gene also becomes mutated, it forms blood vessels in those tissues where the blood vessels were not required. For example, a cell has escaped all the methods which were regulating its cell division and growth. Now, after escaping from those checks, Now the cell is dividing continuously. It is growing. It is producing a tumor. The tumor will not survive unless this gene is also mutated. When the angiogenesis gene is mutated, it leads to formation of blood vessels in that tumor. So cancers do not occur only by mutation of protooncogenes, only by mutation of tumor suppressor genes, or only by mutation of angiogenesis gene. For a cancer to occur, protooncogenes, tumor suppressor genes, and angiogenesis genes, they must simultaneously get mutated. They must simultaneously get mutated. Only the mutation of proto-oncogene, it will not be sufficient enough to produce a cancer. Only the mutation of tumor suppressor gene may not be sufficient enough to cause a cancer, right? Only mutation of angiogenesis gene is not sufficient enough to cause a cancer, right? So for cancers to occur, simultaneous mutation of proto-oncogenes, tumor suppressor genes, and angiogenesis genes is required. So that proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes, when they get mutated, they they make the cells to divide continuously and show continuous growth. Angiogenesis genes, it forms new blood vessels in that tumor. So that tumor survives and that causes the cancer, right? So this is how the cancers are caused. So cancers are caused by carcinogens. On what thing this carcinogen acts? This carcinogen definitely acts on a cell. This carcinogen may cause epigenetic change. That means it may not affect the genetic material, it may not affect the DNA, but it may affect the metabolism of cell, right? So it may stimulate the cell to change its behavior and behave as a cancer cell without affecting its DNA. Or this carcinogen may act on genetic material of the cell. In the genetic material, in the DNA of the cell, there are three different types of genes. There are so many genes, but three different types of genes which are linked with cancer. They are proto-oncogenes, tumor suppressor genes, and angiogenesis. Proto-oncogenes, they are normally present in every cell of the body and in every organism. These proto-oncogenes, they produce a protein which stimulates the body cells for normal cell division and growth. Tumor suppressor genes, they produce a protein which checks the growth of the normal body cells and tissues, right? So it checks the overactivity of this protein. The protein produced by proto-oncogene. It stimulates the cell for growth and division. But tumor suppressor gene produces another protein, which counteracts its action, which keeps the cell division and growth under control. And angiogenesis gene, it forms blood vessels only in those body organs where it is required. Now, if proto-oncogene is converted into oncogene, or if tumor suppressor gene undergoes a mutation, or angiogenesis gene undergoes a mutation, the simultaneous mutation of these genes is responsible for causing cancer. So this is how cancer may be caused, right? So that was the mechanism of formation, the development of cancer. Now we will see what are the symptoms of cancer. Symptoms of a cancer. The symptoms of a cancer may include, number first, any lump or thickening in a body organ, which shows growth and spreads from point of its origin, point of its origin, may be a symptom of cancer. If there is any mass of cells or thickening of a tissue in a body organ, and this thickening of tissue or mass of the cells in that body organ shows growth, it is growing in size, and it is spreading from its point of origin. It spreads from the place where it originated actually. So this lump or thickening in the body tissue, which is growing in size and which is spreading from its point of origin, this can be a symptom of cancer. It doesn't confirm that it is a cancer. It may be a symptom of cancer. So this should not be taken lightly. A person who may experience such a thing, he should immediately rush to a doctor and get that growth or thickening evaluated, right? Number second, any unusual, continued bleeding or discharge through ends, nose, ear, eyes, or from other body organs. Body organs may be a sign of cancer, may be a symptom of cancer. If there is any continuous bleeding, either through anus, either through mouth, either through nose or ear, right? If there is any continuous bleeding, that means the bleeding, sometimes bleeding occurs spontaneously, all of a sudden. That may be because of injury or that may be because of infection. But if the bleeding continues over a long period of time and it is not stopping, it is recurring again and again, it is occurring again and again, right? So any such unusual bleeding or discharge, there may be discharge of pus, there may be discharge of other fluids, which is happening continuously. Any such bleeding or discharge through anus, nose, eye, ear, or from other body organs or from other body tissue, that may also be a symptom of cancer, right? So that discharge or bleeding, that should not be taken lightly. So one should get evaluated immediately for what is the cause of this discharge or what is the cause of this bleeding, right? So that may be a symptom of cancer. Any wound not healing for a long period of time, may be a sign of cancer, may be a symptom of cancer. Injuries happen to all people, and those injured tissues, they get usually cured, right? But if sometimes after injury a wound remains there, and that wound is not healing, from that wound there is continuous discharge of blood or continuous discharge of pus, or there is continuous discharge of another fluid, right? So if a wound which is not healing over a long period of time and is making some discharge continuously, that wound may be the symptom of a cancer in that area, right? So that those wounds which are not healing over a long period of time, from which continuously fluid or blood is leaking out, so that wound may be a sign of cancer. So this may be another symptom of cancer, right? There are some more symptoms. This board is creating problems for me. I'm not able to clear it properly. Rapid changes in appearance, rapid changes in appearance, form or growth of warts or moles may be an indication of cancer. So we develop some warts on our skin. These warts, as I told you, they are benign tumors. Or we develop some moles. At that mole, there is accumulation of melanin pigment. So if a person is seeing any change in the shape and size of these warts, or in the shape and size of these moles, this rapid change in the shape and size of moles and warts, this may also be an indication of cancer. So if there is any change in the shape and size or growth of a wart or a mole, this should not be taken lightly. If you experience that these moles or warts, they are changing in their shape, form, or size, so they are showing growth, so that should not be taken lightly. That may also be a symptom of cancer, right? So this is another symptom of cancer. Persistent changes in bowel habits may also be a symptom of cancer. Every person has got a habit of visiting toilet. Some visit the toilet in morning, some visit after taking lunch, or some go to the toilet in the evening. So everyone has got his bowel habit, right? So if a person is experiencing that his bowel habits are not remaining constant, his bowel habits are changing every day, so that should not be taken lightly. That may be an indication of some cancer associated with alimentary canal. That may be an indication of a cancer associated with this alimentary canal, right? So persistent changes in bowel habits, this should not be taken lightly, and this may also be a symptom of cancer, right? Or there is persistent hoarseness, hoarseness of voice, or difficulty in swallowing, or persistent coughing, or persistent coughing. They may be also indications of the cancers. If a person has continuously hoarseness of voice, sometimes we develop hoarseness of voice because of some allergy or because of some common cold, etc. Right? In common cold, our voice becomes a bit different. It becomes heavy, right? Or sometimes due to allergy, our voice gets changed. But if a person is experiencing that his voice is changing most frequently, is if a person experiences that his voice is changing every now and then, if a person experiences that his voice is changing every now and then, his voice is changing continuously over a period of time, so that may be he should not take that lightly. That may be a symptom of some cancer, right? Similarly, persistent difficulty in swallowing. If a person feels that he is having difficulty in swallowing, sometimes this difficulty arises due to infection of the throat, but it remains for a few days, then it goes off, right? But if a person is continuously having difficulty in swallowing the food, so that should not be taken lightly. The person must get evaluated. It may be a sign of throat cancer. Or sometimes there is persistent coughing. A person is coughing without any reason, continuously for a long period of time. Sometimes we develop throat infection, we develop chest infection. At that time, we develop a cough. Or sometimes we are suffering from this common cold, we develop a cough, right? But if a person is coughing without any known reason for a long period of time, so he should get evaluated. That may be also a sign of cancer, right? Persistent indigestion. Persistent indigestion. If a person is experiencing difficulty in digestion, he is not able to digest food normally over a long period of time. Sometimes we suffer from an intestinal infection. At that time, we may develop an indigestion. But if a person is continuously suffering from indigestion over a long period of time, he should immediately get himself evaluated. This may also be a sign of cancer, right? Unexpected. Unexpected. Unexpected loss of weight. This may be also a sign of cancer. If a person is losing weight without any known reason, sometimes we are dieting, sometimes we are making strong, vigorous exercises, sometimes we are suffering from starvation. At that time, we are supposed to lose weight. But if a person is taking normal diet, he is living normally, he is not starving himself, he is not making any exercises, but still he is losing weight. So that weight loss, unexpected weight loss, that should not be taken lightly. That may also be a symptom of cancer, right? Excessive, unusual bleeding during menses. That should also not be taken lightly. Menstrual cycle, it has got some irregularities. Those irregularities include change in the length of menstrual cycle, right? Change in the amount of fluid which is lost. But sometimes certain women, they experience continuously heavy bleeding. They experience very excessive loss of blood. If this happens again and again in each menstrual cycle, or sometimes in between the menstrual cycle, if this thing happens, that female should immediately get herself evaluated. This may be a symptom of some ovarian cancer or some this uterine or cervical cancer, right? So these are some symptoms of cancers which should not be taken lightly. A person should get himself evaluated if he is having any one of these symptoms, right? So these are the indication. These are the symptoms of cancer, which may indicate that a person may be suffering from a cancer. I think this is sufficient for today.